Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA, from the Black Boule, in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. A lot of wrestling fans are noticing a serious decline in quality of the product at WWE ever since TKO Holdings took over the company. Now, TKO Holdings was formed when Vince McMahon decided to sell WWE instead of keeping the business in the family the way it was when his father passed it on to him, and then he was supposed to pass it on to his either son Shane or his daughter Stephanie and her husband Triple H. A lot of people thought that the business would stay in the family as Vince McMahon got older. However, like many baby boomers, Vince McMahon didn't think about maintaining the business and keeping it in the family. No, like many baby boomers, he only thought about getting his and screwing everybody else. And because he was following the old I've got mine, screw you mentality. And as he followed the I've got mine, screw you mentality of many baby boomers, he decided to go out here and cash out his company by selling it to UFC. And as he sold it to UFC, they then took WWE and formed the new company, TKO Holdings, and wanted to create a sports entertainment mecca for all over the globe. And as they focused on creating a more global product, sadly what has happened with WWE is that the quality of the product has not improved. No, the quality of the product at WWE has not improved at all with the forming of TKO Holdings. No, what TKO Holdings has done is instead of focusing on giving us quality stories as related to wrestling, has gone out here and led to a serious decline in quality that has WWE product in the same place that it was in 2019. Now, a lot of wrestling fans noticed that the wrestling product has really fallen off in the last couple of months ever since the last road to Wrestlemania, and they've noticed that ever since TKO Holdings has gotten their hands on WWE, that the product isn't as good as it used to be. Now, when Vince McMahon was in charge of WWE, it was going through some issues around 2019, but managed to work those issues out when Vince McMahon finally decided to relent and let Triple H take over the booking and the creative content. And as he took over the booking and the creative content, the product drastically improved and people were excited to see WWE product again. However, once that was done and the product started to get better, Vince decided to go out here and look to go out here and do what most baby boomers do when they can't control something. What they look to do is go out here and cash out the product because they can't have creative control. And when they can't have creative control, they seek to destroy what was given to them. And that's what sadly led to the decline of WWE. Vince McMahon, basically like most baby boomers, again, given a good product by his father, made that product $1 billion product, and now that he's in his old age, basically could not continue to control that product, so he gave it to corporate overlords, and those corporate overlords basically are the ones who have basically destroyed WWE and taken it back down the road to a decline in quality. Now, this decline in quality is because mostly TKO Holdings doesn't see WWE as sports entertainment. No, it sees it as just another product under the TKO umbrella. And because they see it as just another product under the TKO umbrella, they just see it as a way to maximize profits without ever thinking about the people who go out here and support WWE product or even the wrestlers themselves. No, they've commodified everything, and they've commodified everything to try to maximize as many profits as they possibly can, and that's basically led to the entire product losing its heart and soul. And that's shown to us because instead of us just getting tables or even canvases that are just blank, what we're getting is corporate logos everywhere as related to things. I mean, you get to see logos for Prime Drink, you get this on all over the ring, and then you get to see them also being put everywhere. I mean, I even saw a Maybelline on a WWE canvas, and I shook my head. I mean, everybody's putting their corporate logos on everything, and we're not focusing on the main product, which is the wrestling. No, TKO Holdings basically wants to sell every space to get every dollar that they possibly can, and all they're focused on is making how much money as fast as they can. I mean, yeah, they saw back in the 90s wrestlers like Macho Man Randy Savage going out here and saying snap into a Slim Jim, and instead of having the wrestler say snap into a Slim Jim, what we're getting is Slim Jim logos on the tables as we're having matches with tables in them. And again, all of this basically sucks the fun out of WWE for the average wrestling fan, because these guys are trying to commodify everything and trying to make it like a UFC match where you have all these corporate logos everywhere, and that's not what people come to WWE matches to see. No, people come to WWE to see the larger-than-life wrestlers. They come to see the action in the matches, and that is not the center focus anymore. No, we're just constantly distracted with logos and from other companies and products, and we're also distracted because there's no real focus on actually good storytelling. No, what's happened at WWE is that they're not really focusing on making quality matches, and that was shown in the road to the last Wrestlemania, where we had Cody Rhodes basically out here in a match against John Cena, and that road to WrestleMania was messed up because we had John Cena put into a heel turn where they looked to try to shoehorn a Hollywood celebrity, Travis Scott, one of these rappers, tried to shoehorn him into the match, and as they shoehorned him into the match, it basically threw off the entire storyline for the match. Because the match of Cody Rhodes versus John Cena could have been compelling. It could have been compelling to see an old legend basically pass his torch on to a new superstar. Unfortunately, what we got was a John Cena heel turn that really didn't help John Cena on his road to retirement. And what we got was him with John Cena winning the WWE title and then having a series of really mediocre matches. A series of mediocre matches where he was pushing a heel turn. Allegedly, all of this was booked by The Rock, who came in with this whole storyline about Cody's soul. And again, none of this really built up into anything, and that's a big problem with WWE today. A lot of the stories, they make them, but they don't really build into anything, and they don't really build into anything because WWE is not focused on the quality of its matches. No, it's not focused on the quality of its matches or the storylines that build up those matches. It's all about maximizing profits. And as they look to maximize profits, they've basically forgotten the people who are in the ring telling the stories. They've forgotten to give them a story to tell that answers that critical question that every writer like myself has to answer before I even take the time to put a finger to the keyboard, and that is, why should we care? I mean, why should people care about WWE if they're not going to put any effort into their matches or put any effort into booking their matches? I mean, there's no reason to go see the matches if they're just going to be corporate product with no soul. And that's the big problem that WWE has been having for the last couple of months, is that corporate is so greedy to get as many dollars that it can that WWE is stopped being special, and again has just become just another corporate product at TKO Holdings. And that was shown to many wrestling fans with the booking of WrestleMania 42 and 43. Now, WrestleMania in and of itself is supposed to be a spectacle, and it's been a spectacle ever since I was a kid in the 1980s. And one of the things that made it special is that it was an event that took place in American cities, and it was an event that, when it came to an American city, was considered something so special, again, that you only saw it maybe once or twice in a lifetime. And the whole thing is that WWE, with TKO Holdings, took the specialness out of WrestleMania, with WrestleMania 42 repeating at Las Vegas, because TKO Holdings basically wanted to, again, go out here and make some money with their corporate friends. They wanted to give them a deal on WrestleMania. And again, that took away what was special about WrestleMania 41. I mean, WrestleMania 41, again, wasn't that great because, again, of The Rock's and his horrible Cody Soul storyline. And it was further made worse because, again, the Vegas event was not as special as ones before, and now WrestleMania again just proves to be just another corporate product because they're going to have WrestleMania 42 in the same city. So again, doesn't answer that critical question: why should we care about WrestleMania 42 if it's just going to be a repeat of WrestleMania 41? Again, takes all the specialness out of WrestleMania, takes all of what made WrestleMania unique, and basically shows it as just another corporate product. And what further exacerbates this whole situation is the announcement of WrestleMania 43. Again, WrestleMania was an American event. It was considered something that was, again, special to America. And WrestleMania, again, no longer is an American event because TKO Holdings is a global company. And this global company, seeing all the money that is being made on WWE events in countries like France and Germany and Australia, basically see a lot more money in international venues. And because they see all that money coming in international venues, they have decided to have WrestleMania 43 in Saudi Arabia, a place where they used to just have one special event called Crown Jewel, where they would entertain the Saudis and have them have matches that basically were just tailored for the Saudi audience. But instead of that, what they're doing is taking the American event of WrestleMania and taking it over to Saudi Arabia, taking it away from the American audience. And as they take it away from the American audience, many American fans are very upset because WrestleMania was their event. Again, Vince McMahon made all of his money and built his company right here in America with American wrestling fans. And instead of looking to try to embrace those wrestling fans and keep that wrestling audience, what TKO Holdings has decided to do is walk away from that American audience, just like the baby boomers taking America for granted. And as they take America for granted, what they do is sit there and look to raise prices on seats to WrestleMania, an event that was basically made on money from American audiences of working moms and dads who took their kids to this event. I mean, when I was a kid, wrestling was something that kids here in America loved to go to. I mean, it was something that was affordable for a family of four. And Vince McMahon made most of his money on those families that went to wrestling shows all over the country at civic centers, at convention centers, and local places here, like in New York, like the Nassau Coliseum. I mean, WWE made 90% of its money on those average everyday Joes and Janes who went out here and watched wrestling on syndicated channels. Like here in New York, we watched it here on Channel 9 at the 5 or 6 o'clock in the 1980s and 12 o'clock every afternoon. I mean, this is where Vince made his money, and this is where the wrestling business makes most of its money. But the WWE has decided to turn away from its core audience of just moms and dads, working men and women who grew up with wrestling for 3 generations, and has decided that they would like to price their tickets not so that the average Joe and Jane can afford to go to a wrestling show. But now what they're looking to do is pander to a group of wealthy types like millionaires and billionaires, and that may be the demise of the WWE. That could basically lead to its end, because again, the core audience for wrestling has always been those tweens and teens who basically, like myself in the 80s, we grew up with pro wrestling. And again, we grew up with pro wrestling because it gave us adult heroes to look up to and heels to look at and see. You know, it gave us stories of good and evil. And what's really sad is that those stories are being taken away by corporate overlords who are basically focused more on money than people. And as they focus more on money than people, what they're doing again is looking to again get money out of millionaires, thinking to make tickets again only affordable for those in the wealthy class and the ruling class. And they want to make the tickets cost anywhere from, I think, about $6,000 or $7,000 to $30,000, and no average Joe and Jane who works a job can afford to get the money to take their kids to wrestling if it's costing that much. And again, this is where the greed basically hits an overdrive for TKO Holdings, and has them focused on the short term, of millionaires in Saudi Arabia, focused on millionaires here in America, and billionaires who again were not the core customer base of WWE. No, these weren't the people who made Vince McMahon and made his product again a national pastime, big, just as big as baseball. No, it was the working everyday man and woman basically made WWE what it is. And like baseball, what it did, and the NFL and the NBA, is that they've turned their back on the American audience. And as they turn their back on the American audience, they may wind up losing their core customer base for a customer base that basically may not again be there for that product, especially during lean periods like there are right now. And with the quality of the product declining, basically TKO Holdings may basically be the demise of the WWE, because again, if you can't get the young customer and the product isn't affordable, you may wind up losing an entire generation of fans, which is what has happened with Major League Baseball, which is what happened with the NBA, which is what happens with the NFL. I mean, when I look at kids today, the kids really don't care about sports like they used to. The kids really don't care about sports because they've basically been priced out of that whole series of sports. No, a kid today can't go to a baseball game. I remember in the 1980s, there used to be $2 seats for the Yankees, and front row seats were maybe about $50. I mean, you could basically afford to take a family of four to a Yankee game. You could afford to take a family of four to an NFL game in 1989. You could take a family of four to the NBA back then. And the tickets, again, were not costing huge money. Same thing with WWF at the time. WWF tickets basically were like maybe $5, $10. You could afford to take a family of four, get yourself some popcorn, have a good time watching Macho Man Randy Savage or Jake the Snake Roberts, again, in some matches against some jobbers, or in a pay-per-view event. Everything was affordable for a family, and they could just have a good time. But with today, everything is about trying to pander to millionaires and billionaires, and that may be the beginning of the end of WWE, the same way it was the beginning of the end of companies like the comic book industry. I remember the comic book industry going through a major decline because it lost its core audience. I mean, many comic fans like myself basically were alienated by these companies looking to pander to the wealthy. And as they looked to pander to the wealthy, they started doing really bad storylines like The Crossing over at Marvel, or they did stories like the Clone Saga or many other stories like Death of Superman. And again, they looked to try to go for that larger international audience, but wound up losing the American core audience, and they were never the same because they lost a lot of their quality people. And as they lost their quality people, again, the product basically suffered. And again, the product suffered because a product is only as good as the people who are producing that product. A product is only as good as the people who produce it and have the passion for producing it. That's one of the things I try to have here at SJS Direct with my books. I try to, again, bring that passion to the page. And again, as I bring that passion to the page, I also try to keep the prices low because I was forced by Amazon to raise my prices on my smaller paperback books to $9.99 because they didn't want to pay the royalties on the smaller books. But I didn't want to raise my prices. I liked keeping my prices at $8.99 or $7.99 because I wanted to bring in the new readers. I wanted to make it affordable for the younger reader. No, I don't want to go out here pandering to millionaires and billionaires with my product. And because I know the road, when you go start pandering to those type of people, you're going to wind up losing your customer base and wind up alienating people for generations. I even saw this when I was working at the Strive Job Readiness Workshop. When I was working at the Strive Job Readiness Workshop, they wanted to go national, and they weren't focused on their local talent, and they weren't focused on the local grassroots feel that the product had, and the product basically lost its soul. I mean, the job readiness program lost its soul, and lost its soul because when you bring in these corporate people are, again, only focused on profits. They're only focused on money, and they don't really care about people. And these people, again, they're the worst type of people to bring in your company. They're the worst type of people because they destroy your product because they don't really understand what makes people connect with that product. What makes people connect with that product is that sense of down-home naturalness that comes from that grassroots feel. I mean, that's what made WWF special for everyone. It felt like a piece of America. It felt like a piece of life here in America. It felt special. It felt one of a kind. It had a unique heart and soul. I mean, a WWF match was one of a kind. WWF wrestlers were one of a kind superstars, and being in the WWE was considered to be the pinnacle of wrestling. But no, it doesn't feel like way anymore. No, it just feels like a manufactured product that follows a formula that basically, again, is predictable. And that's one of the reasons why more and more viewers are tuning out. Even though WWE is thinking it's going to cash in on this international audience, what I've seen with companies that call themselves going national, like Strive, or people who think they're going to get a bigger audience, like the comic book industry, is you wind up with no audience at all. And you wind up with no audience at all because you wind up alienating your core base, and that core base basically, again, walks away from the product, and the product is not passed on to the youth of the next generation, because that's where your focus should be when you're out here making any sort of entertainment media, whether it be books like I do here at SJS Direct, or a company like a WWE or a comic book company. Your whole goal is to get the next generation of youth interested in your product, because the next generation of youth are the ones who are going to be your customer base. And you need to go out here and get those kids excited. Again, it's those kids who take their parents to these events. And what happens is that if the parents are already interested, they want to take their kids to these events. And again, if you can get the kids, you can get the long-term money. If you can get the kids, you can get yourself paid. And again, the kids were how Vince made his money. And now that he sees his company in the hands of TKO Holdings, he's basically regretted the decision to sell the company to TKO Holdings in an effort to get back at Triple H and his wife and his daughter Stephanie. Basically, he thought, oh, as a baby boomer, I'll just cash out because I can't control the company and my son-in-law is doing a better job than me. But that whole feeling of, as related to his, the bruise to his ego, has basically done damage that's completely irreversible, because Vince did try to get his company back, but his company now is in the hands of TKO Holdings, and they don't see it as anything more than another asset in their corporate book. And as they see it as just another asset in their corporate book, they don't want to give it back to Vince. And now Vince is lamenting letting WWE go because he's seeing the quality of the product go into this serious state of decline. Going in a serious state of decline because Triple H no longer is in control. No, it's controlled by corporate overlords like The Rock. And as it's controlled by these corporate overlords who are on the board, it's all about profits and not about people. And a lot of people at WWE are suffering, whether it be wrestlers stuck in mediocre storylines like the ones going on right now, or fans who cannot go out here and even afford to go to a WWE event anymore. I mean, people are suffering because one person didn't think about the people, didn't think about the future, and now WWE is looking like it's on another tragic trajectory like it was in the days of 2019. Now, if you want to pick up some of my books here at the SJS Direct imprint that I try to keep affordable as related to printing costs, you can pick up those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at other online booksellers like Draft the Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And if you want to help me to be able to keep SJS Direct afloat, you can, and help me to continue making videos to stay on the air, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis, Dark Incubus. The goddess next door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get your copy of Isis, Dark Incubus in paperback and e-readers today. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this all-new Spinsterella story. Pre-order your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed, all-new Esteemed series adventure. Pick up your copy of Esteemed Season of the Witch Girl in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers today. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.